What's up, guys? Working on another Trailblazer, and I've had a request for this, so I'm gonna make a video on it, just a little short video. This is an all-wheel drive Trailblazer, and I'm installing an oil pan baffle, and so I just kind of wanted to go over some of the things you have to do to actually get the oil pan out of an all-wheel drive. It is obviously a lot harder than two-wheel drive, but it's really not that bad. But I'm just going to show you what you can do to get it out with about the least amount of work as possible. So I'll go ahead and show you the oil pan. Got it cleaned up, got the baffle installed, and got a new gasket riveted on there. So I'm also doing a lowering kit on the front of this Trailblazer as well. So I went ahead and pulled all the parts out for the suspension, and so I needed to install the springs anyway, but you kind of need all this stuff out of the way. So you don't have to unhook the steering arm. You can just kind of sit this stuff over to the side. You know, you're going to take this bottom ball joint loose, obviously the top one, and you're going to get those loose. The caliper's got to come off, and the ABS wire, in order for you to lay it down on the ground where it's not going to mess anything up. So there's that, and obviously, you know, you got to use a puller or something to get this guy off right here, but that's not too bad. I installed the upper arms. I'll go ahead and cover that too. They're really pretty straightforward, but what I like to do is add some extra nuts on the inside to kind of like jam or lock nut it, put like a lock nut inside of there. So obviously the bolt thread's in tight. You tighten that up, and then I added this nut extra and tighten it up to lock them in place, because you know, you don't want those guys coming loose on you. And basically we've got the exact same thing over here. The only difference is I did not pull the CV axle. Uh-oh, I shouldn't have touched that. I didn't pull the CV axle, and I was able to unbolt the front differential from the oil pan, and you can actually push it back enough to get the oil pan out, so you don't even have to take that off. Alright, so as you can see, the drive shaft is still attached. You got to take these plates off the back and this cross member. You can see it laying back there. That other cross plate is kind of all really sort of one piece, but it bolts together in separate pieces, if that makes sense. And you also have to unbolt the steering rack. You've got two bolts. It normally goes in there, and those are 21 millimeter. I think just about all the big stuff on here is 21 millimeter. You know, you got to take your big bolts out for the rear control arm. Those are the rear mount of the lower control arm. I should have specified, but those are 21. All this other stuff back here is 15 millimeter. You just take, there's like 3 bolts on the inside facing the back. The heads are facing back, and then you got 2 in the bottom on each side, and all that stuff comes out. Obviously you've got your oil pan bolts around the perimeter of the engine. You got to unscrew this harness. There's one 10 millimeter nut right there, and then there's like a sliding pin, so you can kind of slide it towards the driver's side, unhook it, and get it out that way. The other thing is the 2 bottom bolts on the AC compressor. You're gonna take those guys out. One of them won't even come out all the way, but basically you just need them pulled back so the oil pan can come down, because this stuff bolts to the oil pan, as you can see right there. Trying to think if there's anything else worth mentioning. Obviously this is followed down, but it was propped up like that, and there's enough room to get it out, so that's not too bad. And I'll be honest with you guys, I've installed many of these baffles, and this is honestly the first all-wheel drive that I've actually done in the vehicle. Usually I'm rebuilding the engine or something like that, so you know, I just wanted to kind of figure everything out, and you know, instead of trying to film stuff while I'm figuring it out, I figured I would just kind of go over it after I got it figured out. So the other thing I'm going to do actually next is I'm going to replace the oil pickup O-ring tube. And the other thing you're going to want to do to make the install of the pan a lot easier is you're going to want to get a pipe wrench or something that you can put over this bar, over the oil pickup tube, and you're going to want to bend this forward about 1/4 of an inch. It's not going to hurt anything, and it's actually really easy to bend, but you just want to use a pipe wrench or something that'll kind of grab on it like that, and then you can just twist on it a little bit. And since it's in the car and there's not really a reference point, you may want to just measure off of something. Like I'll probably measure off of here and make sure it's about 1/4 of an inch forward when I get done. And that makes sure that this lip right here on the back of the oil pickup clears the oil pan baffle. So I really think that's the main thing. You have to take the 2 bottom bolts out of the transmission, obviously, the bell housing. Oh, and the other thing that'll hold you up if you're not aware of it, and it's kind of hard to notice, but these little covers, if you still have them, will definitely keep the oil pan from pretty much moving. So you got to make sure you got a 10mm bolt on that one and on that side. And actually the one on that side, it comes out with the oil pan, but you don't want it in the way, so you can just take that thing out right there on that side. This one's obviously up under the starter, and we don't need to disturb the starter, so we just took that bolt out. And the only other thing I'm gonna do is clean up the sealing surface. So I'm gonna wipe it down with like some acetone and a rag, and then I'm just gonna clean it up with some Scotch-Brite real quick, which is exactly what I did with the oil pan. I'll throw some pictures up at the end of the video to show the oil pan clean, and then putting the new gasket on there, riveting the gasket in place. You're gonna have to have a rivet gun to install the baffle into the pan anyway, so it makes a lot of sense, especially in this situation, to go ahead and rivet that gasket in place, because you're gonna need all the help you can get to get it back up in here and make sure that it doesn't fall off or get sideways on you or something like that. So riveting it in place when you're doing this in the car, it's gonna make it a lot easier. So anyway, I think that's pretty much all that there is to go over. This side of the, let me turn this over, sorry. All right, this side of the steering rack is not really gonna come down far. I think maybe it dropped about maybe 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch. But this side's gonna have a lot more play. As you can see, it's probably 6 inches down, maybe 5 inches down. So you just kind of want to pull this side down a little bit to give yourself the clearance to get the back of the oil pan out. So that's really about it. Like, once you get all that stuff out of the way, it pretty much just falls out. Just don't let it hit you in the face. That's not a good thing. If you guys want to see a video on how to lower your Trailblazer, I'm gonna put that at the end of the video. I've already covered that very extensively before, so if you guys have any questions about how to install the springs, even the rear, all the lowering stuff, like I said, I've got a video covering that. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope it helps you out, and we'll see you next time.